Hello, and thank you so much for joining me in this lesson that love is commitment in spite of feelings glitching sometimes. In the last lesson, we talked about how our feelings are often quite inaccurate. It's very hard for us to understand what event is causing our feelings to be like that. So we may be very agitated at our partner, but it actually is because we're thirsty, tired, or just not taking care about ourselves enough. Another thing is we can't always be happy because our body adjusts to our surroundings. So if we feel really good one moment, our body's going to get used to having that increased sense of good feeling, that increased neurotransmitter or hormone, and it's just going to adjust to it and it's going to regulate itself, and eventually that feeling is going to wear off and then it's going to come back again. That's just part of life. You have to understand this, that our feelings cycle, they change and they glitch. So you should still use your feelings to help guide your decision making, but just understand that they're not always perfect and it's hard for us to tell where they're coming from often, okay? Now, what happens so often in relationships is people think, I want my relationship to feel good. And the moment it doesn't feel good, they say, I'm out. That's it. I haven't felt good for 2, 3 days. I just don't think it's working out. Or, I haven't been feeling good for a while. It's not working out. Now, this could be effective, but only to a certain degree. For example, if you don't feel good consistently for like 2 weeks in your relationship and you really think that it's your partner, then okay, maybe there's a problem, especially if it's very early on in your relationship and um, you're not so strong together yet, then maybe it's a sign that your relationship isn't working out. But if you've been together for a long time and then you start not feeling good for a prolonged period of time, you have to ask yourself, is it coming from me? What can I do about it? When we ask ourselves, what can I do? It's so empowering because it gives us the opportunity to get better. If we think that there's nothing we can do about something, then it's very limiting. It's like, well, I can't do anything. That sucks. That really sucks. But the moment we think about maybe there is something I can do, suddenly it opens our eyes to understand that we have a part, and we always have a part when it comes to our feelings. Okay? Now, in this lesson, we're going to talk about love being commitment. Love is commitment in spite of feelings glitching sometimes. This is so, so, so important. A lot of us, well, we can compare ourselves to some animals, for example. So, a lot of animals, and also we can, I don't want to make this analogy, but we can compare it kind of to children um, on acting on impulse. So, children, for example, like very, very young children, like babies, if something hurts, they're going to scream and cry. Okay? If you've been around babies, I'm sure you understand this. If something's good, they're going to laugh. You, it's kind of easier to understand what they feel, not necessarily what they feel, but that they feel by observing them because they show you how they feel. They're very like impulsive. Like they feel something, they scream and cry, they show you. But adults, it's kind of harder to tell sometimes. Like they don't always tell you what they're feeling, which is something we're going to address later in this course. We're going to talk all about communication and learning about the way we perceive each other and our actions and the world and how that's so important to helping us build a strong relationship. About having the right conversations to understand this. Okay? But a lot of us as adults, like we don't always show what we feel. So we'll keep it in and then weeks later it will explode or it will cause a problem, which we'll discuss more of in our conflict resolution unit. But the thing that's important here is that adults have the choice, and young adults too, to not always act on their impulses. So, for example, let's say that you're really agitated with your boss, okay? Like something's bothering you and like your boss has been really annoying lately, and then your boss comes to ask you for something. You're not just going to explode on your boss and tell them all the things that are in your head, the negative words. I mean, you might, but you might get fired if you do that. A lot of us kind of are able to keep a filter. Now, this is something so important. We're able to not always act compulsively. So, like, we may feel like we really want to say something mean to our boss, but we don't. because we have the ability as adults to limit the way we act, okay? To have a strong feeling of something, but not go about and do it. Now, this is something that we wouldn't see in children. Like if children feel something, like especially young children, they're going to scream, they're going to cry, we're going to see it. But adults have the opportunity not to always act on their impulses. And this is what's so important in the relationship. Not that we should communicate how we feel, but when it comes to not feeling good, okay, or feeling like we want to leave our partner, okay, we have to remember that feelings glitch, guys, glitch. Now, love here is commitment in spite of those feelings glitching sometimes. Love is the commitment to not always act on the impulses that we may have to do something very negative to our partner or to leave our partner, because we understand that feelings sometimes glitch. If you feel very negative towards your partner, you have to ask yourself, am I tired, thirsty, not exercising enough, not spending enough time with my friends? Am I not communicating enough clearly? We're going to get to all of this. But don't just end the relationship, guys. Don't. Because love is commitment, okay? We have to recognize that our feelings are glitching. Very often for everyone, all the time, no matter how long couples have been together, they have had negative thoughts towards each other before. It's just a thing. It's a fact of life, okay? But what keeps those couples together over the long term is their commitment. They're acting above their impulse in spite of those feelings glitching sometimes. Now, just like we would hold back our impulse to say something negative towards our boss, we can also do that to our partner, okay? So just remember that as adults, we learn to regulate the way we speak and act towards other people. We can feel very negative towards them, but we don't have to communicate that to them, okay? Because we don't always have to act on our impulses. Yes, if you touch a hot stove, you have an impulse to jerk your hand away. I'm not talking about that. But I'm talking about emotionally. So, and we're going to learn later in the series also more about how we can help calm down our emotions, especially in our limits unit, which is so important. But just remember at the beginning, commitment in spite of feelings glitching sometimes. So many of us are in it, just for me, the moment it's not good, I'm out. But guys, it's always not good at some point, okay, in every relationship. It's the commitment in spite of that that makes those relationships stay and eventually grow to what I dream your relationship will be in future. Thank you so much for listening to this lesson, that love is commitment in spite of feelings glitching sometimes. In the next lesson, we're going to talk about intimacy, and I'm super excited to be presenting that to you. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll catch you in the next lesson.